Welcome to the Noble Indigo Sacredly Sovereign vlog, where we talk about Aboriginal history, Aboriginal culture, and Aboriginal spirituality. My name is Mariya Aurya L, and I have been organizing the Noble Indigo community for about 2 years now. And one of our longest standing projects has been our monthly chakra-themed Aboriginal womb circle. The information that I'm about to share with you is coming from a presentation I created and debuted for the first time at our womb circle, which we call the Noble Sister Circle. Give me a second here to go ahead and share my screen, share my presentation with you guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. It's coming, it's coming. So yes, at Noble Indigos, I facilitate a monthly chakra-focused womb circle. So the foundational chakra of the chakra system that we use is the Earth Star Chakra. I know that a lot of when we look up New Age spirituality and we research chakras, that we can find a lot of information about the main 7 chakras, right? But there are a lot of Indigenous and Aboriginal cultures around the world who actually acknowledge additional chakras to those main 7, as do we here at Noble Indigos. So first things first, I'm going to be diving into the research that I've accumulated as to why Indigenous and Aboriginal sovereignty is in alignment and so deeply connected to the Earth Star Chakra, okay? So you might be asking, what is the Earth Star Chakra? I've never heard of that particular energy center before. So if you look to the image on the right-hand side, you'll see the Earth Star Chakra is located about 6 to 12 inches below your feet, okay? That means that this chakra is located actually not in the physical body, but deep within the Mother Earth, okay? This is the layer of this chakra is connected to the layer of our aura that allows us to connect directly to Mother Earth, our ancestral memories, and our collective consciousness, okay? I would even go as far as to say that this is the energy center that helps us connect to our identity as Aboriginals through connecting through our vibrational connection with our ancestral lands, okay? So at Noble Indigos, we teach that every chakra is symbolic of a spiritual birthright, okay? The birthright of the Earth Star Chakra, okay, is the cosmology of via positiva, okay? Via positiva just simply means I am worthy because I exist. I don't have to strive for my worthiness. I don't have to prove my worthiness. I'm worthy just because I exist. And that is the cosmology that our ancestors lived by here on this continent, okay? Again, like we said before, each chakra is symbolic of a spiritual birthright, but we'll come back to this a little bit later. I want to just build more upon the Earth Star Chakra. So again, the birthright of the Earth Star Chakra, feeling worthy because you exist, can be corrupted through certain practices, okay? And when our birthrights, the different things that the chakras symbolize are violated, then we see shadow aspects manifested, okay? We hear a lot of people talking about, shadow work and things pertaining to the act of doing subconscious deprogramming, right? So the shadow aspects of the Earth Star Chakra, all right, is unworthiness. And that is why it is really the foundational birthright, because if you don't have worthiness, you will not feel worthy to reclaim any of the other birthrights, okay? You want to set a strong foundation for yourself. So at this point, you might be asking me, how does this have anything to do with Aboriginal history, Mariah? Cut to the chase. All right, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk a little bit about America's herstory. Okay, I'm going to talk about America before we commonly think about the beginning of American history. Okay, so I would also like to start with going over, spelling out what is an American. What does it mean to be an American? Okay, American. It's an adjective pertaining to America. Okay, an American is a noun, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Okay, so we got to get really clear about that, because we call everyone American, but we play these colorable games. Okay, so we don't have to really identify exactly what people's nationality is, but we're gonna get into that a little bit further on. So if you can see here, you can take a look at the map on the right hand side. You'll see a map of our beautiful country, our homeland, right? And you're gonna see that there were so many different nations, tribes. We had over 500 tribes, within this country, on this continent, okay, speaking over 300 different languages. So we were an extremely diverse group of people, okay, diverse when it came to languages, diverse when it came to cultural things, diverse when it came to our physical appearance, how we look, diverse when it came to spirituality. All right, so we have to keep that in mind when we go further into the presentation, that the people that were living on this continent, the Aboriginals, the copper-colored races, us, we were extremely a diverse race and mix, not race, a diverse mix of people living on this continent, okay? And so I've included also some images here. These are from different museums, okay? Obviously, I did not create them or anything. I just, curated them here for the purposes of us seeing the depictions of Aboriginal people here in the Americas, okay? And if you look at the picture in the center, the top right circle, okay, that is supposed to be resemblance of an Aboriginal American, okay, as are all of the nobility in each of these photos. So we see that, the people that were coming here and depicting what they saw here were depicting people that were heavily melanated, okay? So this lends to the fact that not everybody that's here in the States, so-called Black people, okay, are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, there were a lot of people whose ancestry is from right here on this continent. Okay, so how did they violate the Earth Star Chakra? So when colonizers came to the Americas, they did not live by a via positiva. Okay, they did not have a strong Earth Star Chakra. They did not have a strong connection to the Earth Mother, to the original mother, okay? So they had several tactics to overcompensate for this, okay? And they used their tactics to violate the birthright of the Earth Star Chakra so that they could gain legal control over the land wealth, all right? So I'm going to talk about a few of the tactics that they used. There were many. This is just a short list, some of the basic things that we should all be privy to, okay? So the first one I want to talk about is the doctrine of discovery, all right? The doctrine of discovery established a spiritual, political, and legal justification for colonization and seizure of land not inhabited by Christians, all right? So this particular, doctrine was very important for them because it gave them legal protection, to seize lands. It gave them legal protection to do what they needed to do to get those lands, okay? Because when we scroll up to the map, we see, look at all these tribes. These people were not Christian, all right? So that doctrine of discovery just completely undermined everything that we had going on spiritually here, our spiritual ancestral connection to where we lived in our ancestral lands, okay? The second tactic I want to talk about is forced removal from ancestral lands, okay? This process is documented extensively as the Trail of Tears. And the Trail of Tears, we learn about it to some extent within our mainstream schools, right? However, so-called Black people who have been, racialized and denationalized, they don't tie their karmic disposition to the Trail of Tears. They don't see that the Trail of Tears was just as much about them as it was about the Native Americans that we see have been able to preserve their indigenous culture to some extent. And I mean Native Americans like federally recognized tribes and things of that sort. Okay, so people who have been reclassified as Black because they have been cut off from their cultural lineage, we don't even associate, we barely associate the Trail of Tears with our struggle, and it is very much part of it, okay? So the third tactic I wanna talk about is really, really important to my heart, because I feel like, like we said before, we're all talking about shadow work right now. We're all talking about, doing shadow work and getting comfortable with the shadows and integrating the shadows. And I feel like if there is any one of these tactics that is literally our collective shadow work that we need to do as a collective, it's this one here. So denationalization and reclassification, okay? Taking away one's nationality, which is a title that tells us what is your nation of origin, okay? To deprive you of your national status, rights, culture, and religion, all right? So I know that nationality might be a very new concept for some of you. It was a very new concept for me a few years ago, but it is learnable. Nationality, let's think of it like this way. Okay, if you come from Germany, right, your nationality is German. If you come from France, your nationality is French. Okay, if you come from India, your nationality is Indian. Okay, so we see this this consistency in that the land is either named after the people or the people are named after the land, right? So here in the so-called United States, we have a very unique situation here. Okay, here in the United States, we don't identify as nationalities, okay? We have been reclassified to colors like Black people, white people, Latino people, okay? Spanish people, Spanish people are from Spain, but anyways, point I'm trying to make is that none of these are nationalities because none of these ties you to a nation, okay? So unless, there's no country called Blackistan, that, Black people are descendants of, or that is their nation of origin. So technically, Black cannot be a nationality, white cannot be a nationality, Latino cannot be a nationality. None of these titles are really telling what is your nation of origin, okay? It's important to know this because status is the number one thing in law, okay? So think about it this way. If somebody calls you on the phone, right? And you pick up the phone, you don't recognize the number, but you pick it up and they start questioning you and asking you mad stuff and demanding you do this and demanding you do that. First and foremost, you're gonna ask, who is this? Who's calling me? So you can know, how you need to move. But so that is basically what status is, all right? And I think I'm gonna make another video, maybe that'll be the next video, about the different levels of status, okay? But as Aboriginal people, the original inhabitants of this continent, our Aboriginal status as nationals was the highest status. And it was higher than the naturalized colonizers that we allowed into our civilizations, okay? So that means that we would have the last say about whatever happens here, on these lands, okay? So they wanted to take away that status so that they could have the last say, okay? Because in our absence, it just kind of goes down to the next person qualified to make the decisions, right? In our absence, but we're not absent. So that's part of, correcting your status as well. One of the other reasons why they did all of this reclassification and denationalization is because this very much, to break down a nation, you have to break down their connection to source, right? Their connection to their culture, their connection to their spirituality or their religion, all right? And when you take away somebody's nationality, all right, someone's nation of origin, something that gives them, human characteristics, human culture, you cut them off from that, they become much easier to brainwash. They become much easier to subjugate and force your will upon, and all of the other, unmentionable, human rights violations that comes with denationalization, okay? So this is, a collective shadow work that we all are working through in this time. We have a lot of emotional connections to these labels, a lot of that's what it is, emotional connection to these brands. But as we're doing this collective shadow work, we need to decide what we're going to bring with us into the Aquarian age and what we're going to leave in Pisces that we don't need anymore, that's not serving us anymore. Okay. But I'm just here to say, I should have gave this disclaimer in the beginning. Don't believe anything that I'm saying. Do not take my word for it. Please, if any of these, pique your interest, research it further. This is only a starting point for your research journey, okay? So the last tactic that I want to talk about is Indigenous divide and conquer, okay? So within the so-called Black community, we're very like familiar with this concept of divide and conquer strategies, these kind of social constructs of pitting people against each other because of skin color, because of texture of hair, excuse me, because of all of these just, made up differences, right? So basically that their tactic was to utilize our internal conflicts and our reclassification brands, Black, Latino, Native American, all of these things against us. They would pit us against each other and just, work off of that internal conflict that we already had. Not to say that, in those in tribal times that we didn't have beefs with each other, that we didn't have conflicts with each other. Of course, there were over 500 different tribes speaking over 300 different languages. Of course, we would get into things with each other, okay? But it was not, it was something that they played upon to get what they wanted, okay? I love this little quote from Chief Pontiac here. And before I read it, I just want to briefly touch upon again another point that just came to me about nationality and denationalization. So even this idea of African American is technically not a nationality because, again, nationalities let us know that what is your nation of origin, okay? So because nations make up continents, you can't really identify as a continent, all right? So we call ourselves Americans, right? But to be African American, that's two continents, from where in Africa and where in America are you from? Like what nation, what tribe, and you'll see, like, if you have any friends that are from Africa or any nations within Africa, you'll see that, largely they don't really refer to themselves as Africans. They say, I'm Kenyan, I'm Ethiopian, I'm Nigerian. They identify with their nation, their nationality, okay? And so Um, and so that's something to keep in mind when you are establishing what your nationality is. Okay, nationalities are like belly buttons. Everyone has one. What's yours? So the quote from Pontiac, Chief Pontiac, they came with a Bible and their religion, stole our land, crushed our spirit, and now tell us we should be thankful to the Lord for being saved. All right. And this is like, I feel like this quote really kind of like uh, shines a light on that cosmology that the Aboriginal people of America lived by, that via positiva. Okay, we are worthy because we exist. All right, they attributed all of the beauty and abundance that they experienced in life to God's love for them. So they didn't need, God to prove it through a son. They didn't need, to be saved in a sense. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind when we're doing our research and making sure that we are looking at the perspectives of which the research sources are coming from too. So Aboriginal Unity. I am under the impression, under the understanding that so-called Native American people have also been victims of this racialization, reclassification, okay? Like I was saying, the people are named after the nation, or the nation is named after the people. So American Indian, that's right up there with African American. Indians come from India. So I don't know where American American Indian, why we continue to perpetuate these labels that do not accurately describe what they're supposed to be describing us, right? Aboriginal Unity. Tribes like the Hopi, Aztec, Apache, Pueblo, Seminole, Creek, and many others have documents in their possession that tells of the stories of the Black gods who gave birth to them. In fact, the Hopi Book of the Stars that was given to them by the Dogons tells them that when the forefathers reclaim their throne, the Black and Red tribes will join together and destroy the white man. There is a similar parable in most Native American cultures that speaks of the white eagle who captures the red eagle until the black eagle freed the red eagle. And then the white eagle retreated to the caves from which it came. Okay? I did not make up these stories. All right? These are tales, parables, legends, myths that are told within Aboriginal communities here in the Americas today. Okay, so when I first started, doing this research, I was like, could Native Americans know this information too? Because if everyone's been lied to, basically, then why would they not also have been lied to, for whatever benefit, for whatever control? So, I was wondering to myself, and I would ask my elders, do so-called Native Americans, know that so-called Black people are also Aboriginal, and that there was this whole weird reclassification and racialization thing happening? And the truth is that some of them do know, and some of them don't know. Okay, just like us, some of us know, and some of us don't know. All right, but yeah, the prophecy is right there though. They tell these stories within their communities, so there has to be some sort of resonance as to the true history of this nation. Another story that I want to share is from the Hopi and the Masaw. The Masaw, also known as Skeleton Man and as Lord of the Dead, teaches the Hopi people to live a simple and self-sufficient life. He is known to offer a bag of seeds, a gourd of water, a digging stick, and a cloak, demonstrating virtue through hard work and cultivation of the land. If the Hopi people dedicated life to their agricultural duties and respect for nature, Masaw promised to watch over them and ensure a smooth passage into the afterlife. Okay, and I felt like this story was just so beautiful because I feel like it really accentuates again our connection to the Earth Star Chakra. Okay, the Earth Star Chakra, like it's so powerful because this is not only our direct connection to Mother Earth, but this is the energy center of which we connect to our Aboriginal identity. Okay, that's the foundation. So before we want to label anything, reclassify anything, do any paperwork about anything, there needs to be an initial connection gateway within you opened up to allow and embrace your true identity. Okay. So Saint Hildegard, who was a Christian saint, teaches that Adam's sin was a failure in eros. He did not enjoy deeply enough the delights of earth. Okay, that was his original sin. All right. The failure to live a via positiva creates a compulsion to conquer and achieve pleasure elsewhere. All right. Like we said previously, the European, colonizers and settlers, they did not live with a cosmology of via positiva. They felt like they came from a culture that they felt like they had outgrown cosmology, right? So that is why they felt that emptiness to need to conquer and obliterate, cultures that they came across and enforce control. They did not live by a via positiva. Okay, so us on the other hand, as Aboriginal people, all right, we lived by a via positiva. So we enjoyed the fruits of Mother Earth. Okay, we enjoyed happily with a light heart all of the beautiful things that Mother Earth has and had to share with us. Okay, because we didn't feel bad for having things. We didn't feel bad for having all of the beauty and abundance in the world because it was a reciprocal exchange of us being committed to Mother Earth and being committed to being in alignment with nature that gave us that via positiva. Okay, it's a give and take, it's a reciprocal thing. All right, and that's why it's more important now than ever, okay, that we start living by a via positiva so that we can feel worthy of our inheritance. All right, the principles and the birthright of the Earth Star Chakra, it's a form of spiritual inheritance. Okay, we talk about like physical, like money inheritance and real estate inheritance and things of that sort, but when we're talking about bloodlines and lineages and ancestors and ancestry, we also need to be made privy to the fact that we inherit spiritual inheritances as well, and we have a right to it. We need to feel worthy of our inheritance. Okay, that's the foundational birthright, worthiness. All right, so this concludes the Earth Star Chakra presentation. I hope that you all enjoyed. I hope that you all got a little something from this, maybe found a little starting point to start your transformative research process. And again, you come back and visit Noble Indigo's wellness.com, the Sacredly Sovereign blog, next week, as we will be going more in depth to more information pertaining to Aboriginal history, Aboriginal culture, and Aboriginal spirituality, Islam, and more love.